Well, we can't throw a garden party without you, so we thank you so much for coming. Yeah, Jesus. So this is our maybe 36th time playing in New York City. And maybe, and I think it's the 10th time in this building, but our first time since you made it a little bit nicer, and it sounds better, and it looks better, and it just feels better. Either that or you're better than the crowds were 5, 8 years ago. All of those things put together. So, here with this garden party and being in New York City, you kind of never know what's gonna happen. And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking Cameron in the drum. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hello everyone, welcome to Live on Four Legs, the definitive live Pearl Jam podcast. Randy Sobel here. I will get to my co-host in just a second, but I have a couple of things that I want to get out of the way before we get into our final MSG episode in this series. It's taken us a whole year to get here, and we're finally up to the last one. So this should be very exciting, and this should be an interesting show, to say the least, to finish off the MSG series. But a couple of things to address right off the top. First of all, I just want to give a shout out to Maurice from the Pearl Jam Holland group and Zeta, who is from Amsterdam, and just personally, they were able to help me acquire tickets for that second night in Amsterdam. So look, they were really good about it, and they, face value and everything like that. Sometimes this community really pulls through for people, and they're awesome. And if you happen to miss out on any of the shows, like just know that there are people that'll pull through for you and they'll help you out. And I thankfully was able to fall into a position where people were good enough to hook me up, and my wife and I are going to Amsterdam in the summer, so hopefully we will see you all there. Hopefully we're going to be doing a lot of really cool stuff like pre-parties and get-togethers and meetups and all that stuff, so keep on the lookout for that. We're not going to announce anything yet. We're still going to work on all the details, and then we'll let you know as soon as possible. So a couple other things that we got on our plate today. Patreon, always available. On Monday, we released our episode for Wash, so that's there. It's a brand new episode. It's probably the last Evolution episode that we'll do for 2019, and then in 2020, we'll start to get into the Bridge School shows. So if you want to come over to Patreon and be a subscriber and be a listener in Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/liveonfourlegs, and you get all access to all of our exclusive episodes, including the Evolution series that has already been out, a couple of the earlier episodes that we did last year that are still there, like New Year's Eve 92 and Storytellers. There's a few of those there, but also you get some outtakes from the regular shows as well that are really good and have really good and fun conversations too. So along with the exclusive episodes, you also get an opportunity to either join the show or choose a show for us to cover on an episode. So that's what you get. It's all with $1 donations. It's really simple. It's easy to do. It's $1 a month. That's all you need to commit to. And you get a real lot of stuff. And, the more people that we get in this, the more that we'll be compelled to do for the future. So, and a quick shout out to two of our newest patrons for this week, Paul Marinick and Jed Garfunkel. Thank you both for signing up to Patreon, and hopefully you both enjoy all of our new exclusive episodes. So if you want to be like Paul and Jed, head on over to patreon.com/liveonfourlegs and subscribe. If you have not voted in our poll for Show of the Decade, head on over to our social media pages. I swear there are links all over the place. You can find them easily. Head on over, vote for your top 10. Make sure you pick your top 10. If you need to go to the link, bit.ly/PJDecade. It's on, again, all of our social media pages. You'll be able to find it. Hurry up and vote. We only have a couple of days left until that is out. So that's underway. Also, big announcement. We're doing, for the first time ever, next Tuesday on our Facebook page, we are doing Pearl Jam Jeopardy. What's Pearl Jam Jeopardy, you say? Well, it's Jeopardy essentially with a little less of the, intricacies that Jeopardy has, but I'll put up a live stream and I'll go through category by category from, easiest to hardest, and whoever buzzes in and answers correctly, you'll get a couple of chances to answer. You get points for it, and we'll get down to a final Jeopardy, and the winner will receive a nice little prize package, including a Stickman ornament and some 2018 tour merch, as well as a Live on Four Legs piece of apparel. So we got some really cool things that are available for you. It's going to be next Tuesday, the 17th, at 9 p.m. Eastern, so you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It might be a shit show, but head on over to our Facebook page at 9 Eastern on the dot, and we get to do a little bit of Pearl Jam Jeopardy, so it should be exciting. Without further ado, I introduce everybody to our co-host today. It is Chris Buckley. Hello, sir. Welcome to the final MSG show of the year.
Hello, it's great to be here. I always love these MSG shows, so this is an interesting way to round out, 10 we said? 10 episodes
10,
for the
yeah.
MSG
we
series.
Last January.
So this is, we'll dive into it. It's an interesting show. There's a lot of comparisons we're going to make to night one from May 1st to May 2nd of 2016 at the Garden, and we were both at both of these shows, and
right.
So it was interesting to listen back and kind of revisit and put myself back in the moment, so to speak, and really try to go back to that point in time and remember everything about these two nights, and especially the second night. I don't know why. I just feel like the second night, maybe because I was a little bit closer, like my seats were a bit better than the first night. I guess it just kind of stands out in my mind a little bit more. I was up on the bridge, I think it's the Chase Bridge at the Garden, behind the stage the first night, and then the second night I was in not the floor, but like the lower bowl opposite the stage, so like on the other side, so facing the stage. But it was such a great view, I feel like the way that the Garden is laid out and the way that the seats are arranged.
I've sat there before too. You're right.
Yeah,
You get
like if it was a hockey game, the seats would be incredible. Like if that can kind of put it in perspective, I was almost behind one of where the goals would be, so kind of like in the corner, looking at the stage. So that was really exciting to be able to have this kind of view of the entire band, the entire night, to look left to right and just to have such a great angle on them compared to the night before, where it was really hard to kind of look through the things on the stage to look at some of the guys, and you couldn't really see their faces the whole time. You had to look at the screen a lot of them show and everything to kind of get a good feel for what was going on. So I think that, combined with some of the moments, the songs that we'll get into, I think made this a little bit more impactful for me. I think the second night compared to the first night. Now, it is a shorter show. They only played 31 songs here compared to 35 the night before. Even, you take that into consideration. I feel like when the first night was over, I remember being at the pre-party. I went both the pre-party for both shows, but after before the second show, everyone was talking about the night before, obviously, as people will do, and everyone was just ranting and raving about the first night, right? So how can they top that? And I remember, you know, agreeing and being like, you know, how could they ever top that? It really was an incredible show, and I feel like maybe when we did our recording of the show on this podcast, we maybe were a little bit harsh. I think a lot of that stems from the hold on.
Yeah,
a lot of it stems from the fact that there's too many similarities to the second night. So kind of what you're getting here is the first night with a lot of the same songs, but the ones that are different are what make this show a little bit more enjoyable, I think. So I guess what I'm saying is, while the first night was really, really good, and it's a great boot, and it's, you know, a strong performance, but it's so hit heavy, you know, there's really nothing that makes you go like, wow, okay, you know, this was really interesting that they did this, outside of maybe like Release being played 7th, like we said last time, and
why do I
want
to buy this
again?
bootleg?
Right,
That's
like what sets this apart? You know, I think to sum up what makes the first night what it is, for better or for worse, is the fact that you said one of your top 3 moments was what? The feedback in the beginning of Go to open the show, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if that's one of your
cool
favorite,
moment.
you know, if that's your top 3, but it definitely is, and I love it. But if that's one of your top 3 moments, is it as good as maybe we thought at the moment?
I think there are specific shows that have, you know, that are built for moments, and the problem is it's Madison Square Garden, where they've had nothing but just major moments in their shows. So when you
our expectations were sky high
coming off of the last, you know, if you want to say the Brooklyn shows, then yeah, but coming off the last MSG shows, out of this world. It was in 2010, incredible. It had been 6 years.
Our favorite show.
The Philly show beforehand had 10, and everything in 2016 was working out really well for them. They were killing it, and expectations were incredibly high. But it doesn't mean necessarily it's a bad show if it doesn't have moments that you can think of that are set in stone in your mind. It just means like, yeah, the performance was really great, and you just don't want to. You just want to separate that from, you know, the moment. So
it was I would just say, just to finish, I would say that show was great more in the performance than the set list. If that makes sense. You know, there wasn't a million moments like with the 52110 show where it's like, oh, and then they played this, and then they played this, and pulled that out, and you know, this B-side, and
there's going to be none of that during the show.
No, there wasn't, and neither was the second night, for the most part. There's a couple little moments here and there that were very, very cool that I still listen to all the time. You know, some of my go-to performances of songs that we'll talk about, but it was just... I don't know. I don't know, the atmosphere, and there's a certain stretch of songs here that really they're just on fire. And I think one of the common threads for the entire show is that you can really divide everything into sections, which doesn't always happen, with 2 major exceptions that again we'll talk about. But there's just so many these like little runs of songs that go together, like the way that Ed constructed the set list, and I don't know if he had any, you know, changes as they were going and taking things out or adding things, but there's a very, very clear, for the most part, like vibe to the song where it's like in ebbs and flows where you know, they start out hot and then they kind of slow down a little bit, and it's just a very interestingly constructed set. Again, not in deep cuts, while there are a few. It's just the way that it's arranged, I think, is a little bit different than maybe you'd get in a standard set, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like, a lot of what's going to come from some of the critiquing of the set is going to be stemming from the night before. So if you can separate the 2 shows, do it, but it's almost impossible.
It's hard.
To do that.
It's very hard.
It really is. So, you know, a lot of my, I want to say disappointment. You know, there are some very special, you know, there are more moment kind of things from this show, but it's not, you know, there's some things that it's still, when you're in the crowd and you were there both nights, you're saying, really, like, this is just kind of feels like a retread. They're not a band that does retreads from night in, night out. So, we'll get into all that. One of the expectations I just want to bring up, Matt, there was going to be a chance that Matt joined this episode to talk about the show, and obviously everybody knows his busy schedule. I won't get into that, but we couldn't make it happen, and I went to the show with him, and one of the things that we said beforehand, where our expectations were, he said, "Do you know what today's date is?" And I didn't think I knew what it was, and he said, "This is 10 years to the day that Avocado came out." Of course, Matt's going to know that because he's Avocado obsessed. So he recognized that date because of the Irving Plaza show where the release show happened, the date that the album came out, and he was there. And we thought maybe there's a chance that they can pull out some deep cuts, and obviously he's thinking of a certain large body of water that they can possibly play, and with all the album shows that happened beforehand, it wasn't out of the question that they were saving something big for night 2. So we kind of hyped ourselves up into thinking, this is a huge possibility. What if, 10 years later, in the same city that they performed to bring in the new album, what if they did the full album? And unfortunately, we did not get a single song from the entire
night. Either night.
Yeah.
Which is
right.
Ridiculous.
How is that even possible? The band is usually more cognizant about these things and history, and maybe it wasn't a big deal to them. Maybe they just weren't feeling it at the time, and they played a couple Avocado, and somebody told them, "Hey, it's the 10-year anniversary," and they were like, you know what? We played Severed Hand and Life Wasted a couple of nights ago. We don't want to do it again.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's also no binaural at all?
There's not any binaural in the show, no.
Even just more, and there's only one Riot Act song, which is the rarity for this show.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're really, really sticking to the hits.
Only one no code in this too. This is a 10. This is 10 and Lightning
10
Bolt.
versus Vitalogy, Lightning Bolt, heavy.
Yeah.
Those four. Major. Like, there's nothing. I mean, even Yield, or a little bit of Yield, I suppose, but the hits.
Yeah, it's right, and there's a lot of covers in the show too. So why don't we dive into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Really, to start off, look. I'm never going to complain about kicking off a show with Corduroy. It's like the absolute worst complaint that you can have. Oh my God, they opened with Corduroy. How awful, how horrible. But I think we brought it up in the last episode, was that, they tried to sort of try and recreate some of their best MSG moments in the last show, and they do it again in this show. And one of them that you really can't recreate is the Corduroy opener from 2010.
Yeah, and Eddie tries to. Really, isn't he saying the same thing?
I can feel it. Right.
So I think there's something to be said for, like you said, the band being cognizant of things like this. Recognizing that was such an incredibly impactful, profound moment for the fan base, especially the local New York fan base and people that were at that show and listened to that bootleg, especially people like us. I can appreciate that, and I also feel like, okay, well, a show's a show. Like, he's going to construct a set list for whatever he's feeling.
Also, this was night 1. This was played number 3.
Right. So already we're off to a repeat from the first night. So
yes, it's Corduroy, and never complain about Corduroy in a set. It's always good, but like when you're kicking off the show with something that you just saw less than 24 hours ago, you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, I'm not as hyped for this as I thought I would be.
Yeah,
in a sense.
It's
especially
it's a weird decision. Like, how about a little wash or something, or a long road or something. But you know what? Whatever. That's just, we're speculating at that. The point is, the first 5 songs, there's no talking. He doesn't stop. So I'm just gonna go through the songs. Corduroy, Mind Your Manners, Once, Animal, Given to Fly. So clearly coming out guns a-blazing, pretty much. This is a high energy first 5 out of the gate. Given to Fly is played 5th for the second show.
Yeah,
again,
that was
they played
a little
it 5th the first
frustrating
night.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Mind Your Manners is second again. So 3 of the first 5 songs are repeats.
Right.
Already.
And
so what are we doing here? What is he doing?
It's a little frustrating, and I know that Mind Your Manners was in the 2-hole almost every single show, so you can kind of predict and see where that's coming from. But
we can accept that, I guess.
If they played Given to Fly later in the set, I would have been all right with it. But it's way too similar at this point. I know it was Go, Mind Your Manners, Corduroy, Hail Hail, then Given to Fly.
Yeah.
And this is Once an Animal. And Once is not one of those songs that I hear early in the show and I'm like, Once, kick this off. Like, I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, this
I'd probably
is
take a Why Go
over
Once early in the show.
100%. Absolutely
like
would
that.
Too. I love Animal. No complaints.
Yeah, Animal I don't have a problem with.
But I think it's a little bit of a strange construction that you don't usually hear Once in that spot, so you're a little bit thrown off right away.
Right.
One of the things that I did like just about this section, one of the songs, in Mind Your Manners, they actually...
It's pretty good.
Yeah, this is a really good version of Mind Your Manners.
I was going to make the same point. It's funny you said that.
So you hear the siren stuff at the end, right? Like they're doing a... You hear that? You heard that part in the end? That was awesome.
Justice to the song with this performance. It was very strong. Eddie nails, as I've said a million times on the show, I always listen for his screams. I put a lot of stock in his screams and if he can hit the notes, and this is a perfect example where it can make or break the performance for me. If he can hit that final scream, living in hell at the end, really, if he hits that, it can really make me. It'll turn me on to a certain performance of the song or turn me off from it.
Right.
He really
played
nails
it so many times now that
Yeah.
you have to be picky with it almost, and especially
Exactly.
It's always played in very similar spots. We've had the same album the last 6 years, so it's almost every single show since 2013. I wouldn't even be surprised if we've heard it every single show we've been to since hearing it in 2013. It's always good to, throw in a little bit of a curveball to the song, and this was a really strong version of Mind Your Manners, and that to me was what stood out really early on.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a big moment pretty early in this show, and this is sort of where you get the sense of like, okay, I see what they're doing, and I see that they're coming out with the big guns really early, and you're sort of thinking that if they're doing this 6th song in, bringing up Rick Nielsen and Tom Peterson of Cheap Trick to play Surrender 6th song in, this is not the last big moment of the night.
It's not, and one would be led to believe that it wouldn't be, and it would turn out that it was not the only other big moment of the night. And I love this cover. It's a solid song as it is, the original version. It's so good. They seem to be having so much fun with it. Mike singing at the end, we're all right.
Yeah.
we're all right. And having a blast, playing with his heroes and everything. And Eddie nails it. The vocal part sounds really, really good. It's a tight performance. They probably ran it earlier in the day a couple times together with them just to get it down, and no problem with this. I love it. Very cool moment. Cool to get it early too. It's cool,
right?
They could have saved it.
Yeah, when they bring out guests, sometimes it's usually in the encores, and I think back to the last time they brought out a guest in Madison Square Garden was probably Ace Frehley. And that was, an Encore 2, they did Black Diamond. So to get this early on, you're thinking to yourself, this is some special shit. What do you got for us? I was pumped at this point. I was bring it on, anything you got. I was ready for it. It was a really, really awesome performance.
It was. This was and it's a perfect divider. So from the first 5, like we said, they come out really hot, very high energy, fast pace. This is, it's in the similar vein, I would say. It's in the same kind of vibe as the first 5.
I think because the guys are with them, if they just played Surrender on its own, it would just be
it wouldn't have the same meaning.
It would be weird. But I think just the feel of the room at the time was, okay, everybody knows that something special is going on, so we're going to kind of, turn it up a little bit, and we're going to go all out for this.
Yeah, and they had just been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they're taking pictures together. Like Tom Peterson's taking a picture with Eddie and everything. So it's a cool, fun moment.
He makes a joke. He said something about Tom Peterson's first time using an iPhone or something.
Yeah, right? He's been around a while, but he knows how to use an iPhone. I'm a little surprised or something like that. So it's pretty funny. And I feel like it's a cool pivot here to get us into the next batch of songs. Like I said, this is kind of how the whole show is constructed. So you go from Surrender into the sing-along portion. It's like the sing-along / man trilogy section here. So we go Elderly Woman, Nothing Man, Leather Man, Better Man. Here.
This is really interesting because, on one hand, we can say that 2 of these 4 songs are repeats from the night before, and they are. And, there's no getting around that. But also, the way that Elderly Woman and Nothing Man flow together is
very well.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's just, you're singing along, and then, you're assuming that the next one is going to be a rocker, so you kind of get into that phase, but you're still in, it's just got, this glow to it where you're continuing to sing, and there's so much vibrant happiness from the crowd that they got 2 high strung songs that you kind of need a Leatherman afterwards to sort of get them back down to earth a little bit.
So here's my take. Yes to the repeat aspect with Elderly Woman and Better Man. Nothing Man, great song. I don't know what it is about Nothing Man. It seems like Eddie nails the performance every single time. With Nothing Man. It's like the rare vocal performance for him where no matter where it is in the set, what venue, it just doesn't matter. I feel like every time I listen to Nothing Man, he nails it live. I don't know what it is. It's just one of these songs where he's just able to handle it no matter how his voice feels, I guess, even though it isn't that easy to sing.
It's not.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of belting going on, and yeah, so that's great. Leatherman is one of the worst songs in the Pearl Jam catalog. So let me just put that out there.
That's an interesting hot take. I don't love or hate Leatherman. I think it's just kind of there. It's fine.
It's brutal. I very rarely will give you a hot take when it comes to them where I'm like, okay, this song is trash. I'm not going to call it trash. I'm not going to call it trash, but it's sitting next to the garbage can. It's close.
So what would you consider to be the worst?
And I'd have to. I mean, Olay's pretty bad.
Olay is pretty much the consensus worst.
If I never had to hear Last Kiss again, I'd be fine.
Yeah, I know.
Which again is not their song, but you know what I'm saying,
right?
That's a whole discussion for another day. But
yeah,
it's just cool. It's still cool to get the Man trilogy.
Yeah, it's not one that really you hear it before. You're not clamoring for it again. So
right.
It's really just a transition into Better Man for this instance.
And that would be my only other note for this, rounding out the first 10 songs here. You get a really solid Save It for Later tag. In Better Man,
Save It for Later.
Yeah, really, the full thing, really good. Eddie having a lot of fun. So that was good stuff.
Better Man by any stretch.
No, and we mentioned
this
to
is
each
fantastic,
other,
though.
where
right.
Maybe another moment of trying to recapture that glorious moment in time, but nothing will ever be that first Better Man from 2010. But this is solid, very very solid. It's not too far behind.
Yep. And here's the thing going into the next batch. So you get Better Man.
Batch.
This is like song number 10, number 9 or number 10?
It's 10.
Better Man is usually late in the first set or in an encore, and you sort of get this idea, and this is what's very tricky about this set. Right now, you're sort of kind of confused as to where you are. It sort of feels like you've been there a long time since you're getting Better Man mid-set, but again, you're kind of like, okay, well, we're still waiting on Even Flow. We're still waiting on early set kind of construction here. So when you get Better Man into Garden and then you go into Even Flow and Sirens, it just feels like it's longer than it should be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But even though time-wise it completely isn't.
Sure. It is odd but it has to do with the trilogy. They're only playing it here because they're choosing to do the trilogy here,
right? But I'm curious as to why they would choose to do it there and not later in the first set.
Yeah, maybe
Why
like to like tour like 14, like so they play 17 songs, so maybe in the first set, so maybe like 14 through 16 perhaps, or like 12 through 14, something like that.
Do it
just
after
a little bit
Jeremy.
later.
Yeah, do it after Jeremy and then Leash Evolution.
It's not. Yeah, I mean that's just an observation. I don't think it's not a positive or negative thing. It's just us talking about it. But this next batch here is real. This is the highlight of the show to me. Garden. This is my first time getting Garden here, so this is great. Love this. Garden is one of my favorite songs. Hearing it in the Garden makes it even better. So we go Garden, Even Flow, Sirens, Deep, Jeremy, Leash, Evolution. So that's 11 through 17 to close out the set. So a couple quick notes here. So like I said, Garden number 1, that's my premiere there. Even Flow, whatever. It's I'm not even going to waste any time talking about Even Flow. It's just, it is what it is. For some people, they love it. I love hearing McCready.
Then count it.
Sure, that, but it's also like in this stretch here of all the 10 songs, so we already had once, third. So now we go Garden, Even Flow, Deep, and Jeremy. So you get 4 more songs from 10, and then Leash for verses, Evolution is Yield, and then you get the random lightning bolt Sirens cut in there. So very, very 90s heavy here. Before I talk about Sirens, I'm going to go out of order here, but Deep, and I said this to you before, for the modern era of the band, whatever, post like 2012, 2013 on, I guess, is like that's kind of how I think of it. This is like the pristine performance of Deep, where his voice sounds really, really strong. I feel like in the beginning of the show, it took Eddie a little bit of time to really get going, even though Mind Your Manners was very strong. He kind of was a little weak from like Once through Given a Fly. By this point, he is killing it. Like his voice is ready to go. Whatever shakiness he had in the beginning has worn off, and the screams, just everything about this performance of Deep is so good.
On the edge, a window sill. One that says makeup, one that says will. To the street below, he just ain't nothing, but he's got a great view. Shakes the fire on deep. Gets off the bottom. Let's do
wrong place, wrong time for me. And we've done a lot of really early versions of Deep lately where it's the classic version of Deep where he's belting into the mic, he's getting angry, he's getting,
Well, are we talking like old shows though?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of those versions, so it's hard when I'm comparing them. I'm like,
you can't.
It just doesn't have that firepower, but that's what it's suffering from. For me, it's not like
that's what I'm saying. That's my point though. So I'm totally with you where I love those old versions where he's screaming and Dave on the drums and the whole thing. Like I totally get you, but my point being, for what they are now, this is really good. Like you have to if you appreciate those old versions and you've listened to newer versions where you say, all right, that wasn't so great.
Right.
I could take it or leave it. Like, all right, let's skip that. This is really good. Like, I wouldn't skip this if you like those old versions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there. Like,
yeah.
I don't think, when I see Deep in a 2016 set list, I kind of think that's really unique. It's kind of rare, and I kind of want to listen to it anyway. Mm-hmm. But, again, it just kind of falls in this trap of, like, we've covered really, like, classic versions of this in the last few weeks or so.
Sure.
And
a little spoiled with that, yeah.
Essentially, so. But yeah, if this is a highlight for you, I'm not.
It definitely is. Yeah, it definitely was for me. And then the only Leash is also my debut, so that's cool. I like Leash. I don't like the way they play it now. I think the beginning is very awkward. The way they kick into the song is very weird. It's just how they play it now. I don't. It's just awkward to my ear.
I didn't like the sound of Jeff's bass in this song.
Yeah, it was okay. It's okay. It's not bad.
I know he's using a 12 string, but
yeah,
I don't know if he typically uses a 12 string for the song. But it just kind of, I don't know. It sounded junky. It sounded kind of rickety. There was something off with it. And obviously, Leash again, kind of in the same boat as Deep, where earlier versions are going to be way better, and
100%.
You can't compare and contrast because Lucky Face is it's not even in the ballpark of what they used to do. But I don't know. I thought that this was a weird sounding version. But what I will say about Leash is that they almost never in this day and age play it in the first set.
Yes.
They'll usually play it in maybe even the second encore, like song 27, 28 kind of area.
Yep.
So
I did not think about that, but that is very true.
Cool little spot there. I think we need to address the elephant in the room, though.
Well, hold on. We're going to get to it. Hold on.
Okay.
And then Evolution closes out the first set. A little bit of trying to remake that magic again. This is the song.
Right.
This is where we get the stage moving. Blah, blah. Yeah, all right. We get it.
Right.
So that's cool. But yeah, so it was a solid performance. So in the 13 hole, Sirens. So they dedicate this to what?
Sirens is your elephant in the room.
Oh, it wasn't yours?
No.
Oh.
No. Jeremy was mine.
Oh, wow. Why?
Because when do you get back-to-back Jeremys in the same arena?
Oh, yeah. All right.
Almost never happens. Same, like we were saying before, just about the same exact spot. This was, prior night was 14, and here it's 15.
Further testament to our point that they are very much in the same vicinity with these song choices.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's, they're thinking to themselves, it really worked last night, let's do it again, or I don't know. I personally, when I'm there, I want more variety from them, and I don't want to hear Jeremy 2 nights in a row. You don't want to hear the hits like those, like Jeremy Daughter. You don't want them 2 nights in a row because it just feels standard and flat a little bit. But it just, a lot of this really mirrored what they did the first night for me. And
right.
That all kind of stems from the Jeremy placement. Okay.
That's I have no problem with that observation and point. It's true. We've, said it a million times over how similar the 2 shows were. That I didn't even think about that. Having it back to back. But yeah, further testament to what we were saying. But for the Sirens thing, so they dedicate it to a soldier who had been killed or something.
Yeah, 23-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was nice of them to do that, to, shed some light on that situation. Now, the thing is that it's awkward here. It's tuned down. So
yes.
Sirens, just by its nature, is while it's sad in lyrical content, it is a very poppy, happy-ish sounding song. In a way, especially, but ironically, this performance it's like very almost religious. It's like
it does have a spiritual.
That's the word I'm looking for. Spiritual. Thank you.
Hear the sirens. Hear the sirens, hear the sirens, hear the circus so profound. I hear the sirens more and more in every town. Catch my breath and breathe and reach across the bed. Oh, just to know how safe I am, a grateful man. The slightest bit of light and I could see you clear. Have to take your hand and feel your breath for fear that someday will be over. I pull you close, so much to lose.
What's interesting to me is they choose to do that in the midst of this like heavy stretch of songs.
I think this is kind of the spot that Sirens was used for in that 2013-2016 time. I think
right, but I'm
was
talking
a
more of
flow song.
Sure, but I'm talking more like literally the sound of the song. When it's tuned down, it's not as high. It's lower.
Right.
It's a little more melancholy and like it just doesn't have that same pop high-end vibe that the original recording does. But so it gives it a different feel when you throw it in the middle of this stretch of songs 11 through 17 that are for the most part pretty raw and heavy, loud songs. This is an acoustic based song. It's a pop song.
So are you saying, because you mentioned before all the 90s songs that were part of this late part of the set, you just saying it just kind of it sticks out like a sore thumb almost?
It sticks out like a sore thumb, but not. It's like it works better. See, I'm torn because I love the way that it's originally played. I like it in the standard tuning. I like it how it sounds. Now, if you had done this in, say, like, let's just for argument's sake say they played it like, after Surrender, and then like they played Elderly Woman, Nothing Man, Leather Man, Better Man, like, okay, it's just like they just did a cover and now they're going to play Sirens and then they're going to go into the sing-along part, whatever. Like, but keep in mind that it's tuned down. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
Yeah,
you can't have it tuned down.
This worked. I was okay with the placement for this.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like the fact. So even though I don't like the fact that it's tuned down, it makes me happier that they did do it tuned down because it was played where it was. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. The one issue that I had with the song is that I think that there was a major missed opportunity with it. I was really expecting that there to be that extended.
There was.
Not really.
Well, it wasn't where they cut out. Yeah, it wasn't where they cut out and did it like almost a cappella or with just like one guitar. But Eddie does a really, really good vocal run at the end here.
I feel like that is usually standard for what they do at the end, and then they kind of end on the sting.
Not that high.
Okay,
because he really goes up.
Maybe that's what I was trying to think of, because they were almost sucking me into thinking that more of that was coming, and it just sort of abruptly ended. And I thought that they were going to, lose the drums, and it was just going to be Ed and Mike.
I guess it's just. I guess my main point is while for the song as it is, like standing alone, I would never ever want it tuned down. Listening back, it's so much more pleasing to my ear that they tuned down here.
Right.
To do this.
All right,
that's
we kind
the
of
end of the first set.
Yeah, we kind of jumbled around. That was a little weird, but it happens sometimes. We're at the first encore now, and this is kind of appropriate that we're getting this song this week, because this week was the anniversary of the death of John Lennon, and we get first song in. It's You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, and
Ed Solo.
Ed Solo. This is a fantastic version.
It is.
And
it's a campfire in the garden.
Yeah, campfire in the garden. You can't go wrong.
How should I even try? I can never win. Oh, hearing them, seeing them in the state I'm in. Oh, how could she say to me, love will find a way. Oh, gather round, all you clowns, let me hear you say, oh, hey, you've got to hide your love away. That sounds great. Oh, it's a campfire in the garden. Oh, no, hey.
Crowd is really into this. If I remember correctly, for some reason, I feel like I remember the house lights being up more than usual at the show. I don't know why.
Yeah, now that you say it, that does kind of. I feel like, especially this part.
Right.
When they came out and sat down and they played these songs here, as they will when they come out for the first encore, it seemed really bright.
Yeah, the same thing going through my head. The visual memory I have of at least this song is that it felt like the house lights were on. And I think later on in the set, maybe in the second or first encore, late in it somewhere, the lights flicker on and off at some point. And you can't really tell when you're listening. The crowd did react to it, but I want to hear the lights. Yeah. Well, the crowd reacted to the lights. You could hear the crowd, but when you were there, at least. But I don't.
Was this your personal debut for this?
For You've Got to Hide Your Love Away?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. So. And same for the next one, which is really one of their more underrated songs. I really believe that.
Yeah.
All or None, baby.
This was the only original debut that I got from either of these MSG shows, and
this was mine as well. Yeah, well, this is another one for me. This was only the 15th time they had ever played it, and they've only played it 2 more times since.
And one of those times of the 15 was in the Garden. That was back in 2003. So it's kind of it's cool, and really it's what it is here. It's a platform for Mike at the end.
Jonesy solo, man, is face melter.
Unbelievable.
It is really good. That's one of the highlights of the show, probably.
Yeah.
His solo. I mean, the whole thing. Ed almost messes up the lyrics in this, in the middle of the verse, like the first or second verse. He starts to go high for a second there, and then realizes that he's messing up and corrects himself. But I mean, Mike there. Oh my God.
He's got
that's
two
a
solo
true showcase
in this too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a true McCready McMelty showcase on full display. There, really, really good stuff. And then one of the more bizarre choices of the entire night.
This is weird. All right, so here's my analogy that I always make.
I would just take it out. But see, it's another dedication.
Yeah, right. So it is a little weird.
What, Thomas Young, right?
It is a Thomas Young dedication, right? So, all right. So the song is Pendulum, which obviously anybody that listening knows is the opener for almost every single show in 2013. Almost every single show that it's appeared on, it's open for. So you get it in the encore, and my analogy that I always make with it is you get a pack of baseball cards, and it's 10 cards, and they promise you, hey, you get one rare card in the pack, but you get 10 packs of cards, and in your 10 packs, 4 of those 10, you get the same rare card.
Right.
That's what Pendulum is.
Sure.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely.
It feels like in a spot where you're expecting big time rare stuff, Fatal and Other Side. Yep. And, obviously I'm going on a major limb there. Maybe a step further down is a Thumbing My Way or something like that.
Yeah.
But Pendulum is something everybody that's been to a show in the last 5 years has gotten. And it just feels like it's a little, and that's very nitpicky
it's a major wasted opportunity. Yeah. It really, really is. Now, listen, I understand he's dedicating it and everything, whatever. Maybe there's a reason that they picked this song to dedicate to him. Maybe not, but strictly from a set list construction perspective and putting the two nights in perspective as well, where I would say All or None is probably the deepest cut that we got of both nights, which outside is saying something. Now, listen, I mean, it is a deep cut, yeah, but it's not a popular, even by deep cut standards. I don't know if it's really that popular.
I know a couple people that are chasing it, but it's
not. I mean, I really like it, but it's not like Fatal. A White Whale or something like that.
It's not Dirty Frank. It's not
right. This so easily that, like, just in this exact spot, after you had Eddie solo, you get a nice rarity with All or None. You're in the Garden. You got a chance to really put something like mind blowing here, where this is the perfect slot, because after this, the next 4 songs to close out the first encore are all back to standing up and doing their thing. Yep. So we're moving away after this from the sit down, like taking a rest part of the first encore that they always do. And it's just whatever. Like, I hate being the one to be like all, pissing and moaning about the set and whatever, but looking back on it, especially like as we're having this discussion, I'm really like understanding and realizing how much of a missed opportunity this was, because I like Pendulum. Yeah. Like, it's fine. It's fine. Like it's the second show in a row too where they put one of the openers like in the middle of the set. Right. Where like we had Release 7th in the first night, and all of a sudden now we have Pendulum 20th in the show.
It doesn't make sense.
It's just, listen, I'm all for them doing things that are out of the ordinary and trying to mix it up and do something a little quirky and weird, but not a song from the latest album, man. Right. Come on, pick, give me something weird. How about like a Parachutes here?
Parachutes would have been great. A Thin Air.
Another acoustic song, Thin Air.
Fatal is my choice.
Sure.
For this.
Listen, I love Fatal, and I would love to have gotten it here, but if we're gonna be picky and say, oh, well, give us something other than Pendulum, any of those songs we just said would have sufficed.
Around the Bend. Yeah.
There's so many answers. Yeah. We could go on and on, but something of this ilk where they can sit down and play it, and it's acoustic based.
It's Madison Square Garden. You want your crowd to react.
Give us something a little out of left field. You know what I mean?
Look, I'm with you all the way here. Everybody's gotten Pendulum at this point. It's just it's done. It's fried a little bit. Yeah, it's different getting it in the encore, but when you're at MSG and your expectations are sky high, you really that's sort of a letdown when you hear it. So last 4 of this encore, you get Present Tense, which I suck. I didn't really remember Present Tense from this show at all. I don't know why.
It was good. It was solid.
Yeah, fine, but I'm just embarrassed by that fact.
It's a good song to get them to stand back up, to get out of the chairs, and where it still kind of has to start out, it's very slow, so it's not such a jolt back forward.
Right. I like how they did
segue. Yeah, it's a good segue song where it starts out slow and then speeds up, and it's a lot of singing along with the crowd, and he really lets the crowd sing a lot over these next 3 to 4 songs. So yeah, Present Tense, Breath, State of Love and Trust, and Porch. So Breath and State of Love and Trust back to back, love that. Breath was really cool. Getting to see it again after they played it, MSG Night 2 in 2010, my first show. Seeing them play it here again was a very cool experience, and they sounded pretty good. As always, Ed completely butchers the lyrics in the beginning of the song. He always mixes up the verses, never gets it right, whatever. I've come to accept it. It is what it is. It still sounded really good. I always love Mike's solo in Breath as well. And State... I love this is more of
this was a ridiculously fast version of State.
Yeah, and that's really what I was gonna get at, but I was gonna try to take the more positive route first before I criticized it. In that I really just love Breath and State back to back. Those are like the 2 single songs. Yeah. To get them back to back, so that's really cool. It's just so freaking fast. I can't take it. It's just, dude, it's too fast now.
Yeah.
I mean, we criticize Even Flow for being too fast, but at least we know there's going to be like a 5-minute solo at the end where we know we're going to need more time to, they need more time to let Mike solo.
State of Love and Trust is just an exercise.
Too fast, man.
It's 7-minute abs.
Why even bother?
3-minute abs.
Don't even bother playing it.
Well, I think they're playing it because they know that Breath, State of Love and Trust back to back.
Sure, and it's
cool,
and fans love the song, and like I love it. Like in the moment, I'm not gonna be upset. Like, oh man, they're playing State, like cool. But listening back to it, it's like, oh Jesus! Like,
all right, you ready for some trivia?
Slow down.
Do you want to do some trivia here?
Hit me.
All right. Can you guess how many shows there have been where both songs have been played? Not back to back, just played
in the same show.
Yeah.
Well, Breath's only been played 86 times. State's been played 390. I don't know, 5?
Well, where both songs have been played, 42.
Okay.
So it's half of Breath's life, apparently. How many times have they been played back-to-back like this?
10?
16.
Wow. Yeah, so it's rare. So that's cool.
Yeah, a lot more than I thought, but...
Yeah, so you get the Man trilogy and this pairing, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, again, things that are kind of unexpected. And honestly, I don't think I realized the pairing for what it was when I was at the show. It wasn't until after that I'm like, really? Breath and State of Love and Trust?
Yeah, a lot of the attraction with this show is really the construction of the set list. And I've said it a million times, but it's true. That's where a lot of you're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's a nice little pairing there. Yeah.
Right.
So, and then
Riffy Porch.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about that. Trash.
All right.
Trash way of playing
I'm not sure
Porch.
if this was the song that the house lights flickered on and off for. It might be. I can't remember.
Well, probably because they played it for the back. We're going to the second encore here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Last Kiss. Just whatever.
They so this okay. Remember in the first episode I said, all right, they're playing for the back, and my thing when I'm at the show is, God damn it, they're going to play Last Kiss, aren't they? They're going to play Last Kiss. And they played Elderly Woman.
And they already played Elderly Woman, so you know you're getting Last Kiss.
Yep. Exactly. So, and there was a kid next to us, and during Ed's whole political speech, I think he gets into a political speech a little bit later. I think it's right after Last Kiss. This kid was just screaming at the top of his lungs, Ted Cruz for president, Ted Cruz. And I just wanted to punch him. Just wanted to punch him and knock his lights out. And the kind of kid looked like a punchable face. And he was like, Last Kiss was his favorite song of all time. Like, this is how this kid was singing this song. And Matt and I are sitting there like, man, we just both hate it. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, but this was the first time I've gotten it since my first ever show, and I've only heard it twice.
This is the only time I've ever heard it. Yeah, so at least we got to check it off the list. Whatever. That's
right. Considering that, like, I'm not, I don't think if I hear it on the European tour, one of those shows, I don't think I'll be that like crazy angry about it like I was in the past. So and they don't really do it that often anyway. So it's a nice little treat, I suppose. But
Definitely.
This is in this spot where Ed goes off a little bit about politics. It's old news. It's not,
honestly nothing even worth getting into.
Right. He talks about Bernie Sanders. He talks about this and that, and we all know what happened, and really it's on to 2020. So, and they get into a song.
Another ultra rare moment here.
Yeah, this is cool. This is Driven to Tears by The Police. And it's the first time in 171 shows that they've done it.
They haven't played it again since. Only
haven't played it again
time.
since, no. But you get middle of this.
He comes out.
He does come out. And it's not like, there's no introduction. It's not like Cheap Trick.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it completely catches you off guard.
Totally blindsided everybody
and he
there.
Sort of sneaks his way in on stage, and you're like, what the fuck is that, Sting? I see that sort of that patchy bald spot that he has, that hair. Like, that's gotta be Sting. And Matt and I were both like, whoa, what is Sting doing on stage right now?
How can you say that you're not responsible? What does it have to do with me? What is my reaction? What should it be? Confronted by this latest atrocity, driven to tears, driven to tears, driven to tears. Oh.
Had my face in my hand, pain melts in my throat. My comfortable existence is reduced to a shallow, meaningless party. Seems there went so innocent eye. All we can offer them was a page of some fucking magazine. Too many cameras and not enough food. This is what we've seen. Driven to tears. Driven to tears. Driven to tears. Driven to tears.
It's crazy because he comes in, he does his part, and he nails every note.
Yeah, he sounded
sounds
great.
Sounds terrific, but he walks off stage to no fanfare. He walks off stage. They don't,
They never even acknowledge him.
Nope. He lets him finish the song. They don't hug or anything like that.
Nope.
It's just like almost
I'm
like
here.
he was never there. Right.
Hey, I'm out of here.
Right. So that was basically a Sting hologram.
Pretty much.
That's,
Was he even there?
That's for the Live on Four Legs mystery machine to determine. We'll have to sample some DNA or something like that.
Yeah, so this and All or None would be, your two ultra rarities.
Yeah.
For the as far as the Garden shows are concerned, these two in 2016. So this was good stuff. Yeah, it's really cool.
You can tell how much Ed loved this performance, and
Definitely.
he just couldn't say enough good things about Sting afterwards. He said, my favorite bassist, my favorite activist, and this is what we were saying before with Cheap Trick. If Cheap Trick is coming out, 20 minutes into the set, something big is happening later, and you don't really get too much bigger than Sting.
No.
Maybe like Paul McCartney, and I'm thinking just on the level of people that have joined Pearl Jam, Paul McCartney's not even in there. Like Neil Young would be the only one that would be bigger than Sting, I would think.
Mick Jagger, the Rolling Stones.
Sure, Jagger, but again,
he's up there. No, he's
category.
This is legit. This is a really big appearance. This is no joke. This is really interesting, cool stuff.
Right. Yeah, mind-blowing moment, but I hate...
What a weird turnaround here.
Yeah, and this goes back to all the songs that were played in the exact same spots the night prior. And I really hate that they couldn't take a high and ride you off with that high and do something like I don't want to even say rare. I want to say fresh, because Lightning Bolt here in this spot is not fresh at this time. What's a song that you can think of that would go right here that would continue to bring up the energy?
Oh, man. Are you saying that you have a specific song in mind?
I don't. I'm trying to figure it out.
You're just posing the question.
Yeah.
How about a Rearview Mirror?
Oh, perfect. That's,
did
they play Rearview Mirror the night before? I think they did.
I think they did, but you're talking about.
So
I totally
maybe
get what
that's
you're
out of the
saying.
question, though.
Well, all right. So then, if you want to take a Rearview Mirror out, it's got to be somewhat hitty.
Right. That's Spin the Black Circle. How about that?
Sure.
That big moment.
Yeah, that could fit here. It's short. Like, they're at the end of the show. They're not going to play a crazy long song. I mean, listen, if it's me, if I'm making
speed.
if I'm making the set, it's Blood. But
If
that's
he
my
has
taste.
Vocal
space
for Blood, that
Exactly.
would be perfect. But Blood is not on every set list
For good reason.
Right. But to get 2 nights in a row for Lightning Bolt in a second encore, that's really you're pulling out. I don't know, pick your most common baseball player card to pull out of a pack. The most like random ass player, I feel like if you got his card, you would get like hundreds of his card. Back in the day, over 15 years ago now, Miguel Cairo. Somebody like that.
Yes.
That's what this
oh my
is.
God, that is such
It's
a good
Miguel
example.
Cairo card.
That is a Miguel Cairo card.
What the nobody who owns a Miguel Cairo jersey? Whoever goes to a game and been like, oh, Miguel Cairo, really solid
Cairo.
player. No, he's just kind of just there and takes up space. That's sort of what Lightning Bolt does here.
That's funny.
And it's honestly the ending of this set.
It's pretty blah.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it sucks because the songs are good.
Sonic Reducer's fine. I don't know. I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm forcing myself to say that I love Sonic Reducer the way it's played now. If I say, if I say
right.
it, because I don't think I do. I like it.
It's generic.
It is. I just,
are
I feel
generic.
like I've listened to the Orpheum version with Mark Arm 1,000,000 times, and that's the version in my head where I think of, like, when I think Sonic Reducer, that's what I think of.
Sure.
And it's so hard to compare to that performance because it's so old and their voices are in such perfect shape, and it's just such a classic moment that anything else is just never going to compare.
The one Sonic Reducer that stands out to me is PJ20. That's the one that stands out to me out of all the ones that I've
Is that
seen
where they
live.
all came out?
Yeah.
At the end, there was
so.
a bunch of them, right?
Yeah, I believe it either closed one of the encores or
Well, I will tell you,
closing.
It was with Mark Arm. September 4th,
there you go.
The second night. There you go.
Anytime that Mark Arm is in the building, they're playing Sonic Reducer or Kick Out the Jams.
Yeah, well, then they also played it at Safeco with Kim Thale and Steve Turner, too.
Right, those are big moments, but I have no problem with it here. It just feels like, just shake it up a little bit. Just, it's the bread and butter is not necessarily, it works from a standpoint, but you kind of, the whole show is a little bit of bread and butter. So when you see the ending and how they end, it's kind of like they sort of napped through writing the set list.
Yeah.
And did it without, cognitively thinking, so to speak.
Right.
So, Alive, Baba
Alive,
Ledbetter. It's
Ledbetter.
fine. It's fine. It's bread and butter.
It's actually the first time I got Baba.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I waited about 10 shows to get it, too. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just seems strange, but the one moment that I can sort of poke out from this ending here is where you hear during Baba, he says in the microphone, he must be giving out tambourines or something, and he says,
"Oh yeah, yeah."
Pass it back to the kid. Let's get together. We can shoulder. Give it to the kid, you fuck.
I love when Eddie does shit like that. He calls people out for being assholes all the time. It's awesome. But
and random other thoughts. Speaking of him interacting with the audience, that we completely forgot to mention.
Yeah, Kid sang on a song.
Even
right?
Flow. No, he let the guy in the front row sing Even Flow, the last chorus, and it was really bad.
Yup. That's the only way I remembered that happened, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, did they have somebody come up? No, he gave the microphone up. That's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, the kid probably had a blast. It was probably
cool moment, but
once in a lifetime opportunity. But go get some singing lessons, kid. All right, top 3 moments from this show. I know we got a lot, but
I'm gonna say All or None is definitely there. Surrender is there, and I'm gonna have to go Deep, man.
You love that.
I love that version of Deep.
That.
It is really, really good. Honorable mention getting Garden also for the first time personally, and getting it in the Garden. That's like I have 2 really visual memories of the show. One would be getting Garden. I think the lights turn green.
Yep.
Like a garden.
I remember that.
That was really cool. And the other was, I remember when they kicked into Breath, like turning around and looking around at everybody, and like there was these people in the row behind me that like I was kind of like singing with, and like I was with one of my buddies, and we were just kind of like talking to them throughout the show, and like just like kind of singing, if I knew where it was, like singing that with everybody in real time was really cool. Really cool, because
you were in the same spot that I was in for the first 2010 show.
Okay.
And I feel like I had a lot of those similar moments during once everybody pumping their fist, during Elderly Woman, seeing everybody singing.
Yeah, because when you sit there, right, and like you can literally like physically look around, like turn around and look at the arena.
Every single person.
Exactly. It's like, wow, is this what they feel like? It's like you feel like them,
sure,
to a certain degree. And the only other time I really ever had an experience like that, it was actually in the same building. I saw Queens of the Stone Age there in 2017, and I was on the floor, like it was GA. I was right in the middle of all the the standing room in front of the stage, and I remember just like turning around and like looking at everybody in the stands. It's like, it's wild. It's total. It's like nothing you will ever experience, unless you're a rock star, and you're playing an arena like that. You will never experience anything like that in your life, or unless you're like an athlete, playing in an arena.
Experience, you sort of fall into this moment where the experience is bigger than what you're experiencing.
Exactly, and it like even transcends, as much as we say this all the time, like it's a religious experience to see Pearl Jam live. It could be any band, any big band. It's just like being in that moment with all these people singing the same songs, and just being able to have that vantage point and like look around and see these people singing with you, looking at the stage with you. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's why I love live music. It's the best.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you any further, and that's why I'm spending all this money to travel to Amsterdam to go see him.
There you go.
I couldn't hold off any longer. So, all right, I'll do my top 3 real quick. 3, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. Just a beautiful crowd sing along, and Eddie didn't really mention this before, but sometimes when Ed gets solo like that, he has a tendency to, get playful and just sort of, I don't want to say fuck up, but like he misses a note or something.
Yeah, it's a little sloppy.
Yeah, he hits everything here, and almost you're almost watching out for it, and you're listening to it like, okay, when in the bridge is he gonna slip up a little bit? But
kind of like the end the night before.
Right, but he doesn't, and he nails everything, and it just feels like the atmosphere. It feels like a big party, and with the lights and everything like that, big moment for sure. Number 2, this wasn't 2010 by any stretch, but this Better Man was really, really good to me. The Save It for Later tag, to actually get the actual song in there was fantastic, and there was just some good feel of energy from the band at that moment, that you're capping off this little section. What's going on. It's the Man Trio, and it's it was much better than the Better Man from the night before, and I wasn't
definitely
listening to the bootleg. I wasn't going in expecting that at all. Number 1, Sting, Driven to Tears. You're never getting that again, and if you are, you're not
definitely not.
It. All right, why don't we rate it?
What would I rate it? I wish I remembered what I said the first night was. I feel like I said it was maybe like a 7 or a 7.5 or an 8 or something like that.
I think you said
right?
8. I said 7. To me, this show
I might just call it an 8 too. This one
Really?
is better. You said this one is better?
I said this isn't better.
You like night one better?
I think from a performance standpoint, and like you put the shows, they're two completely different shows, but I think you got to sort of almost take the moments out of them, like the surrender and driven to tears moments.
I'm gonna go 8. I'm going 8. I'm gonna say it's the same as the first night. It's tough. It's tough. This is a weird, like, it's so many hits. Like, I feel like I'm rating it like it's not even like close to the same scale as 5/21/10. You know, like
No.
it's like the bar is so much lower for these two shows just by
Right.
because we're comparing these two and like in the context of the garden and everything like that. So if I gave an 8 to night one, I'm gonna have to. It's either a 7.5 or an 8 for this one too. Like I'm not gonna say that it's that much worse or that much better because the moments that were different from the first night are really cool. Like the covers with the guests and then getting Garden. Deep is like one of my all-time favorite performances of Deep. Like
Right.
All or None. It's that kind of pushes it a little. It gives it that extra push compared to the first night. So
Sure.
7.5 to 8, whatever, somewhere in there.
I don't know. You asked me then, and I don't know. I was so like disappointed by just both days, and going back to being the spoiled brat and thinking like, oh, I didn't get I haven't heard these songs yet, and I heard everything from night one, and what about Avocado? They could play all of Avocado, and they didn't hit that expectation. I thought the big moments were pretty big and really good. I loved seeing Cheap Trick, and I thought that was big, and obviously Sting was big too. I don't know. I guess I have to give it the same thing that I gave it the last show. I guess I have to give it a 7 because I can't, for the life of me, tell whether or not this was a better show than the other. And really, maybe both of them should be 6s to me because I gave a show that, in retrospect, could be better, a lower number. But I don't know. I don't want to play that game. So I'll take the easy route and I'll just say 7.
Okay,
It's not.
that's
For
fine.
any stretch a bad show, but look, had they have not made some of those repeats, I would have given it a lot higher, I think.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
yeah, that's it.
That's it.
The Garden's
the Garden
over.
is done.
Unless they play in the Garden
In
in
the fall.
2020.
the
Yeah,
fall.
we have covered everything except for the one little performance that Ed and Mike had at Bob Dylan tribute.
Masters of War, which is arguably just as good as
unbelievable version.
any performance that they have ever had together,
Right? Yeah, no, it's
and especially
it's
in
one
the
of
Garden
best.
for sure.
Right, but
Great stuff. Hopefully, we'll be adding to this in the fall of 2020. I think we will be.
I don't know. I don't know any rumors. I can't spoil
We'll
any
see.
rumors
We'll
because
see.
I don't have anything. So,
Time will tell.
since we're kind of in post memoriam for our MSG series here, do you have like a very favorite moment that we've talked about from the 10 episodes that we've done?
Oh man, it would have to be something from my first show, which
Yeah.
was May 21st, 2010. I don't know, man. There's so many different
That
moments
whole-
in that whole
that
show.
whole
Just the whole
episode.
show, from beginning to end. Just if you want to hear me gush all about it, everyone can go back and listen to it. But
I
just the
legit
whole
think
show.
that's the best episode we've ever done on the show.
Yeah,
If you
for
haven't
good
listened
reason.
to it, it's an amazing show, first off, but both of us could, I think we said it afterwards, we could have talked about it casually at a bar and it would have lasted the same amount of time.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that show is amazing. I mean, like my first show was in 2008, like that, there were some awesome moments from that show. 2003, the Live at the Garden DVD, Evolution, and Ben Harper, like Breath from 1998. You got so many big moments. Maybe we'll do a Patreon special where we kind
MSG
of
highlights.
yeah, MSG Isles, like an MSG clip show, because I know it's a little tough to go through the archives and be like, oh, I want to listen to this and that. You want to catch up to what's going on now. So, and I know a lot of new listeners aren't necessarily going back and listening to the really old stuff, and it is old stuff. at this point, but it is available for you. So maybe that's something we do over Christmas break. I'll just throw together a little MSG clip show for everybody to enjoy. So, all right, that wraps things up. Again, if you want to head over to our Patreon account and subscribe and become a patron, we have our new Wash episode that's out. Head on over there, donate to the show, and you get all the exclusives that we put out. The Bridge Schools are coming out next year, as well as you get to pick your own show. You get the opportunity to give us a show that you went to, or even a show that you just like on bootleg, just for us to cover. So, all of that is a really good deal for just, pitching in a little bit of your donation. It is greatly appreciated, and a lot of it is going into stuff that we're going to be doing for the European tour, too. So, really excited for that. And go and vote. Find the links on the social media pages. Go and vote for the show of the decade. Next week, unfortunately, we will not have you next week. Sorry to hear that, but we are going to have a really fun episode. This is sort of like our season finale, I guess, of 2020. Next week is not a show. It's we're doing something different. We're doing a set list draft where there will be 4 of us in the same show going over and picking songs one by one. So if you know fantasy football and baseball and just fantasy sports in general, you know that, okay, for your number 1 pick, you're picking such and such player. It's a little different in this. Our number 1 picks, we're not picking the best player, the best song. We're not picking, rearview mirror for our number 1 pick. We're picking what we want to open with. So we go down the line, a full set list in order of what we want to do. And we go through, I think, like 30 or 31 songs or so. And it's going to be real interesting because we got 4 people that are very knowledgeable, that know their stuff. And I think it's going to be something that you want to listen to. So check it out next week. And Buckley?
Yes, sir.
I suppose we'll see you in 2020?
Yes, you will.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, buddy. So, again, thanks for everybody for joining in on the MSG series and listening to all the MSG shows throughout the year. They've been really special to us, especially, both of us that have been to so many in the last handful, and Matt, who had been to so many that we talked about earlier in the year as well. So they really mean a lot to us, and, a lot of you have even talked to me and said that you listen to the show specifically for the MSG show. So thank you for that. And we are done with full shows for 2019. That's kind of crazy to say. So this may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer. And although we may be parting ways, I miss you already. I miss you always. Thanks for sticking in with us today. I have a cold. Buckley's not feeling well, and this was a tough one for us to get through. We powered through it, and bam,
the show must go on.
Exactly. So I thank everybody for doing that, and I thank you for joining me on the show today. And
for sure.
We'll see you next year, and we'll see you next week.
Later.
Protest is futile, nothing seems to get through. What's to become of our world? And who knows what to do? Driven to